The regular meeting of the St. Joseph County Council, April 9th, 2019 is now called to order. I have a disclosure to read this evening that is required under federal law. The Title VI coordinator has made available at this meeting a voluntary public involvement survey to collect demographic data to monitor and demonstrate St. Joe County's compliance with its non-discrimination obligations under Title VI and Federal Regulation 23 CFR 200.9B4, and more importantly, ensure that affected communities and interested persons are provided equal access to public involvement. Compliance is voluntary. However, in order to demonstrate compliance with the federal regulation, the information requested must be documented when provided. It will not be used for any other purpose except to show that those who are affected or have an interest in proceedings or the proposed project have been given an opportunity to provide input throughout the process. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation, which will be given this evening by Jeff Kennedy of Southgate Church of South Bend. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear God, we gather together here tonight intent on doing good work. Our leaders seek to represent fairly and well those who have given them this responsibility. May their efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. They seek to serve with respect for all. May their personal faiths give them strength to act honestly and well in all matters before them, and for them we give you thanks. In your holy name, Father. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much. Next are petitions, communications, and miscellaneous matters. Ms. Hess?
Okay, tonight we have two appointments. Eric Stahlheim for the Historic Preservation Commission and Andy Place Jr. for On-Site Wastewater Advisory Board. And we also have a nomination for the Mishawaka Economic Development Commission, and that is Janet Whitfield Hyde.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations at this time? Hearing none, nominations are now closed. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Eric Stahlheim is appointed to the Historic Preservation Commission, and Andy Place Jr. is appointed to the On-Site Wastewater Advisory Board, and Janet Whitfield Hyduck is nominated to the Mishawaka Economic Development Commission. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 12th, 2019 public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes from the March 12th, 2019 public hearing are approved. Report from the county auditor.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Mr. Castelli.
Good evening, President Morton, esteemed members of council, Councilman Root, Auditor Hammond, fellow citizens of St. Joseph County. It's my pleasure to come before you once again to discuss the great work being accomplished every day by the dedicated public servants here in St. Joseph County. 2018 saw immense strides made to increase transparency in many ways, improved access to government services through website and social media, increased activity related to economic development, and the further strengthening of our financial position in anticipation of the fiscal cliff. 35 departments submitted annual reports, and I want to thank each of them for the dedication, devotion, and for all they do each day for the citizens of St. Joseph County. I will take a few moments to recognize and highlight their many accomplishments. The Department of Adult Probation including the Court Substance Abuse Program, Drug Court, Veterans Court, and CSLAP Lab, has continued working to reduce recidivism rates as part of Indiana's Felony Pretrial Diversion Pilot Program. They grew the court-supervised recidivism reduction program for domestic violence offenders and completed 1,650 pretrial assessments. Archives continues their work with South Bend Area Genealogical Society to index several databases. By the end of 2018, these databases had over 425,000 entries searchable through the county's website. The Area Plan Commission assumed the responsibilities of zoning administration from the building department and reviewed 294 zoning violations and was able to close out 226 of those violations. They also worked to put more applications and zoning ordinances on our website to help the development process. The Office of the Assessor reviewed almost 30,000 parcels for the first year of the cyclical reassessment phase 2. The total gross assessed real estate value for 2018 was over $16.7 billion. The Personal Property Division completed the review and assessment of over 11,000 business properties. The office holds extended evening hours after new assessments are mailed, so the public can come and ask questions about their assessments. They also continued working to include neighborhood, property tax, and ownership information on the county website. The auditor established the Insurance Task Force that meets monthly to work on issues with respect to the health and liability insurance plans. They also established the Dark Store Task Force to deal with issues regarding property tax assessments for big box retailers. They also work with council, department heads, and elected officials to prepare a prudent 2019 county budget that has a balanced general fund. And finally, they transitioned to a weekly accounts payable process to better serve the needs of our departments and vendors. The court-appointed Special Advocates Program served a record number of children. They successfully advocated for over 480 children who were educated children in need of services. They had 145 volunteers throughout the year who dedicated approximately 33,000 hours in service of the young folks in our community. The Office of the Clerk of Courts continues to work to digitize marriage records, and copies of marriage licenses can now be ordered and paid for online. The Clerk and Election Board helped implement new voting equipment for the 2019 municipal general election, and our current equipment is rapidly becoming obsolete. The St. Joseph Circuit Court Administrator, Lisa Pluntzner, in conjunction with Superior Court Judge Stephen Hostetler, received a grant to update the court's jury management system. And in January, the first jurors were summoned using this new robust and advanced program. The new system allows the potential jurors to fill out questionnaires online, over the phone, or still request a paper form. Communication with the selected jurors is improved, as the courts can now text and email reminders to jurors. The county should recoup its initial outlay within 4 years and then begin saving money from that point forward. The coroner continues to look to ways to save the county money. They helped develop a county ordinance that charges the home county for any non-St. Joseph County resident death that occurs in St. Joe County. They also work with EMA to receive a grant to help purchase supplies in the event of mass fatality situations. The Domestic Relations Counseling Bureau provided services to 232 families, including 197 children. They conducted co-parenting classes for 154 parents. The Newcomb Center continues to work with area partners to provide programming and opportunities for clients to prepare and eventually become successful members of society once they re-enter. The Department of Economic Development focused on 5 different project categories for 2018. Planning for the Indiana Enterprise Center, pre-development for a project in the State Road 933 corridor, the Capitol Avenue Economic Development Area, advancing rail development opportunities in our county, and continuing to partner and coordinate with the cities and towns in St. Joe County. Emergency Management Agency helped to coordinate efforts after the February 2018 flooding event. They were able to help secure a FEMA emergency declaration that resulted in over $2 million in damage reimbursements for the affected residents. The agency is also working to establish a disaster relief foundation to help provide relief funds to St. Joseph County residents in the event of future disasters. The Department of Geographical Information Systems, GIS, work with the 911 Dispatch Center on enhancing address point support. They also continue to work to maintain property tax mapping and even collected data to assist EMA after the flooding event. The Department of Health, Emergency Preparedness Division participated in several community partnerships around emergency preparedness and worked with EMA and the coroner on a mass fatality plan. The Food Division issued 1,278 food permits and completed 2,112 retail food inspections. The Nursing Division is now fully staffed and participated in several public health initiatives focused on lead education and monitoring. The Department of Human Resources focused on 3 key areas in 2018: personnel matters, benefit offerings, and a safety program. HR also worked with auditor and council members on monthly insurance meetings to help monitor the status of our employee health plan. The Department of Information Technology continues to work with the newly formed IT Governance Board to strategically plan for scheduled obsolescence of county technology. The Juvenile Justice Center is under new leadership under Judge Jason Sjccm, and not so new, returning leadership of Executive Director Dr. Bill Brunsma. They assumed their duties, in 2019, but they could not provide an update for 2018, but they did provide a list of their goals for the upcoming year. That includes increasing interdepartmental collaboration, reducing incarceration rates by transitioning more youth to day or GPS monitoring, and increasing the amount of quality community service opportunities for youth in JJC programs. The Department of Maintenance focused on several large projects. The most significant one was working with Performance Services on the Energy Savings Project. So far, the county has received checks from AEP in excess of $90,000 due to improvements they completed. They're also working to paint all common areas in the county city building to bring a fresh, more modern look to accompany the new signage. Can also say, as part of the Energy Savings Project, we're going to be announcing very soon that we won an award, the county did, for the project, but more information of that will be coming very soon. The Department of Museums reported that nearly 43,000 individuals visited the museum exhibits, toured its historic houses, and participated in its school and public programs. The museum has over 700 member households and welcomed over 5,000 students. Parks and Recreation benefits the community public health and economic development by managing over 1,300 acres of public access green space, river and stream corridors, wetlands, and woods. Last year, they welcomed 313,000 visitors to their events and increased attendance and revenue for their leisure services programs by 9%. Portage Manor worked to make repairs to their historic building while cutting costs and increasing revenue. This led to a budget surplus of over $59,000, all while continuing to provide care for their 133 residents. The Department of Procurement spent a great deal of 2018 working on the Enterprise Resource Planning and Implementation Services proposal. Many department heads, elected officials, administrators, fiscal officers, and staff dedicated countless hours to this project, and while the outcome was not what they had hoped, the project is being reworked again, and hopefully in the next coming month or so, new proposals will come in, council and commissioners and other folks can get engaged and make the process better. The Office of the Prosecuting Attorney filed over 4,700 misdemeanor and over 1,700 felony charges. The County Metro Homicide Unit conducted 46 investigations, resulting in 82% clearance rate for homicides. Due to this success, our model is now being replicated in Elkhart County. The Public Safety Communication Consortium, or PSAP, fully consolidated its computer-aided dispatch system. The center received almost 420,000 calls in 2018, a decrease of over 31,000 from the year prior. Starting in the end of last year, 90% of employees are fully cross-trained, a peer support team was created, and a quality assurance program was implemented for fire and medical calls. The Department of Public Defender has 21 felony deputies who handled 1,656 cases. At the JJC, they defended 598 cases. The department also handled over 2,500 misdemeanor cases. The Department of Public Works completed over $20 million in community investment on road and bridge program projects and improved approximately 109 centerline miles of roads throughout the county. Major projects included receiving approximately $6 million in federal aid funds to reconstruct the Pierce Road corridor. The department applied for multiple grants, being awarded several, including a grant that covers 80% of the cost of the intersection improvement at Beach and Cleveland roads. They also completed 129 rural drain maintenance projects and 60 urban drain projects. Last year saw much growth and development at the Purdue Extension Office. Due to retirements and transitions, all 4 county education positions became vacant. These newly hired educators began rebuilding their programs and have worked to develop offerings that fit the current needs of our community. They were also awarded a grant that will allow their master gardeners to build a donation garden to help provide fresh produce for WIC of St. Joseph County and St. Margaret's House. The Office of the Recorder recorded 2,011 fewer documents in 2018, but collected $141,000 more in revenue and fees. In December, the office has reassumed the duties, of back indexing documents that were once contracted services. This allows for the saving of thousands of dollars in reduced errors. The police department completed 5,534 case reports and assigned 950 cases to the Detective Bureau. The police department also initiated a new reporting and records management system. The Patrol Division investigated 2,138 traffic accidents with over 40,000 dispatchable events. 9,258 individuals were booked into the jail, with an average population of around 635, thankfully none of them named Costelli. The Soil and Water Conservation District completed its final year of a multi-county Clean Water Indiana grant project. Last year, they planted 173 acres of cover crops, 270 acres of no-till, and 3.4 acres of pollinator habitats were planted to improve soil health. The Superior Court reported that over 31,000 new cases were filed. Further, 5,600 residents appeared for jury service with 137 jury trials. The Superior Court has also applied for a grant to help with the creation of a mental health problem-solving court to help better reduce recidivism due to mental health issues. Office of the Treasurer collected $275 million in taxes last year, an increase of almost $7 million. The total amount of money held in investments was almost $93 million, and they earned $3.25 million in interest. The Treasurer unveiled a new tax website, which contains information from both the Assessor and Treasurer offices and allows taxpayers to view and print out tax bill and connect to online payment sites. The Department of Voter Registration updated over 13,000 voter records. Through voter registration applications, the office also recruited over 900 poll workers to facilitate the midterm elections. Lastly, the Department of Weights and Measures performed over 6,500 tests and inspections. 2018, we continued to build on past successes. We worked to increase transparency and access to service of our citizens, continued to invest in economic development, all while positioning ourselves to financially weather the effects of the upcoming fiscal cliff. Through a partnership with WNIT, we are recording council and committee and commissioner meetings. Recordings are available on the county's website, so people who cannot attend meetings may be able to stay up to date with what's going on. You guys all look fantastic, by the way. I checked the feed before I came out here. But it's great that folks who can't be able to participate can see what's happening with their local government. Also in 19, we're going to begin recording more boards and commission meetings, so we'll have even greater access to the public. A report of concern feature on the website received almost 250 submissions and proved to be an especially useful tool during the flooding event last January. It allowed folks who were having issues with flooding reach out to the county directly. We could make sure they got to the department that was able to provide the most service. Our social media accounts continue to draw followers, and posts reach an average of over 6,000 people a month. Under the leadership of Commissioner Fleming, the commissioners created a youth leadership program. The county received 43 applications from area high school juniors and seniors. Ultimately, 20 students were selected, representing 6 area high schools. These students meet monthly and are required to perform community service, and at next month's graduation, will be presenting their thoughts on how to improve various functions of St. Joseph County government. I'm certainly looking forward to what these young leaders have to say. I think we have a couple in the audience. If you're a part of the program, if you could please stand up. You could give them a round of applause. This is one of the ways that we're trying to better outreach, especially with the young people of our community, to try and get them more engaged in all the great things that are happening here in St. Joe County. And hopefully they can give us a few pointers in how to do things, especially working their phones and other things that I need help with. The commissioners established a monthly Employee of the Month program, which encourages department heads and peers to nominate employees who go above and beyond in serving our citizens. As the county continues to support increasing the level of constituent service, it is important to take time each month to recognize the great work that happens here every day. The county joined numerous counties and municipalities in filing a lawsuit against opioid manufacturers and distributors to hold them accountable for the role they played in the crisis that we are now in the midst of. This will also hopefully help us acquire financial resources to address the burden this has placed on our community and communities across the country. Speaking of leaves, even considering some of the nasty November weather, We were able to provide a high level of service to our property owners and have one of the most successful programs that we had in recent years. We continue providing our employees with one of the best health care insurance programs, period. And our HR department, including our broker R&R benefits, introduced a modified accountable care organization structure, or ACO. They're responsible not just for providing services, but for working together to protect and improve employee overall health. Both health systems provide incentives to help the health plan members become healthier, and both networks have reduced pricing to benefit employees whose services fall under the deductible and coinsurance, which will help the health plan as a whole save funds. Throughout the next year, they will continue to focus on employee recruitment and retention through improved job postings, better employee training, and continue to offer great benefits at the lowest possible cost. Our commitment to economic growth paid off again last year. In the Indiana Enterprise Center, the St. Joseph County Energy Center opened in June, and Smith Ready Mix Concrete opened in October. The county applied for a $1 million U.S. Economic Development Administration grant for fiber conduit to be brought into the IEC New Carlisle area, which we found out last month that we were awarded. So this will allow us, this work will begin this year and be completed by the end of 2019, and it will drastically improve the level of fiber and level of service to the entire New Carlisle area, including residents, the farmers there, and City of New Carlisle, and the school corporation as well. Economic Development staff continues to finalize the framework of the master plan to serve as guidance for planning and coordinating new development in all areas. The Capitol Avenue Economic Development area will see continued growth as SF Motors begins to manufacture electric cars at the old AM General commercial plant. Throughout last year, the Chinese-based company invested over $20 million in the factory, which will begin producing the SF5 vehicle later this year. Not since the early days of Studebaker has South Bend and St. Joseph County been on the forefront of the automotive industry the way we are now. The South Bend International Airport and surrounding areas are another focus of economic development. The airport's Project Propel was launched in 2018 and encouraged local businesses to have their employees fly out of South Bend if it made within a certain price point of the surrounding airports. This increased usage led to 2 daily direct flights to Charlotte and Dallas-Fort Worth. Southwest of the airport, we will continue to focus on the South Bend Logistics Park with the hope of bringing in cargo on a realigned single rail for both freight and NICD trains. This would create an opportunity to develop an air, rail, road logistics center. Another great example of our commitment to economic development leadership from Area Plan, the Building Department, Public Works, Economic Development, County Surveyor, and the Health Department began weekly meetings to coordinate activities and programs to provide better service across all agencies. Through these conversations, leadership adopted a new centralized permitting system across all involved departments to better track the progress of development and assist with moving projects forward. This new system should be implemented within the next 60 days and will really allow the user to track in real time permits as they're going through the system, and also allow us to follow through that process to make sure we remove as many hurdles as we can. 2019 saw the new Department of Infrastructure, Planning and Growth launch, combining Area Plan, Economic Development, Public Works, and the Surveyor. This new office will be a super agency, create a centralized development organization with a forward-looking view. The goal is to find ways to say yes to development while adhering to good planning, design, construction, and growth principles. Currently, this department has office splits between 3 floors of this building. It is hoped it will occupy the 3rd floor of the law building, with the health department possibly being on the 2nd floor, the building department on the 1st floor. It will truly be a one-stop shop for development here in St. Joseph County. Renovation of the law building is part of Phase 1 of the space reallocation project that's being considered. The reconfiguration of the former central highway garage into offices and maintenance garage for the sheriff department, in addition to the Singer building at the St. Joseph County 4-H Fairgrounds for the Purdue Extension Office, comprises the rest of Phase 1. An RFP was released for that a couple of weeks ago, and we should start seeing what some numbers look like in the next month. It's important to understand our current financial situation. According to Moody's Investments Service Report, St. Joseph County has an extremely small debt burden and is favorable relative to its AA2 rating. Over the last 7 years, our county has rebounded as is evidenced by an increase in overall net assessed value. So what we have here first is, it's our outstanding debt balance per capita. It's kind of tough to see, but we are, in the red is St. Joseph County. So we've got City of South Bend, Mishawaka, we've got a lot of these other entities that have a lot higher debt load per capita than St. Joseph County does. Total cash less debt, this is a good example of overall debt for the county, less what we have in cash reserves. Once again, we find ourselves from local areas next to Elkhart County, we are one of the most, some of the lowest debt as municipalities and counties in our area. Part of this is because our net assessed values have gone up, thanks to the work of the assessor and the auditor. As we try and clean up that assessment process, we're seeing our net assessed valuations are going up. What also helps is St. Joe County median household incomes have continued to rise over the last 3 or 4 years. And this is something we anticipate to continue as we move forward. Also, South Bend, Mishawaka unemployment rate continues to drop, and we, at some point, we're in a situation where if you want a job, you can find one in St. Joe County, but now is not the time to rest on our laurels because the economic market is good now. We need to make sure that we continue economic development, growth, and prosperity to make sure these things can continue. If you compare our county's debt balances per capita to surrounding counties and municipalities, it's apparent we have done exceptionally well in managing our debt. Over the last 7 years, our county has rebounded, as we've seen here by some of the statistics. Our continued belt tightening along with the rebound in our state and local economies provided an opportunity to begin to address the long-deferred investments in capital improvements needed by our county. Over the next several months, we'll begin engaging council and the auditor and other departments in conversations about capital improvement priorities. We should have some rough numbers in place by the end of this month that we can share with council. But everything from infrastructure to buildings to increased safety features require an honest discussion with the ultimate goal of having a 5-year plan for addressing these issues. Elevator repairs, new voting machines, improved highway garages, an ERP system, and building improvements are just some of the items that will need to be addressed within the next 12 to 18 months. We have spent the last few years living within our means, only taking on debt when absolutely necessary and retiring debt as quickly as possible. This is why even if the cum cap rates are restored to prior levels, an average county taxpayer is paying less in taxes now than they did 5 years ago. Another area we need to address is PSAP funding. St. Joe County cannot continue to subsidize dispatch operations for other entities in St. Joe County. That's why right now we're working on a new funding stream or a new funding source once our current contract runs out to have a more equitable method of paying for dispatch services across St. Joe County. It cannot continue to be on the backs of the county. I also want to give special recognition to Councilman Noland. For everything he has done over the last year or so, he has really engaged himself in a number of projects for the betterment of not just St. Joseph County government, but for our citizens as well. And your hard work has not been unnoticed. I want to thank you publicly for that. Don't get used to it, but, well, yeah. Yeah, and it's actually, we kind of blocked out that part of the recording too, so there'll be no permanent record. To finish, I'm proud to say that the state of our county is strong and continues to grow stronger, thanks in large part to the hard work of you folks up here, and most importantly, to our dedicated staff and public servants here at the county. We have some exciting things to announce in 2019, and I look forward to looking back at all the great things we're going to accomplish after they happen. Thank you again for your service, and may God continue to bless our great nation, the state of Indiana, and St. Joseph County. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, do you have any reports from any council special committee? Hearing none, next on the agenda, first readings. Clerk, please read bill number 3519.
Yes, indeed.
An ordinance approving a petition for a special use filed by the St. Joseph County Parks for property located at 50651 Lowell Road, petitioner St. Joseph County Parks.
Bill number 3519 is assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee. That concludes first readings for this evening. Next on the agenda are salary amendments. Clerk, will you please read bill number 3119?
An ordinance amending ordinance 5318, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the numbers of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2019. Petitioner Infrastructure Planning and Growth.
Ms. Hess, committee report, please.
I think that's Mark. That's Mark. I took the numbers.
Oh, the numbers must be wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. The numbers are wrong on the agenda. Mr. Kandrat,
Yes, Mr. Martin.
committee report, please.
Which bill number are we referring to?
31, 32.
3219.
Oops.
Mr. President, Bill 3219 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Petitioner?
Yep. Oh, I see.
We're doing this one, sorry. Okay. Frank Fotia with the Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth with offices on the 11th, 7th, and 4th floors of this building. What we are asking for tonight is to restore the senior planner position. It was the position that was the deputy director for the Area Plan Commission. When we had come to you in the budget last year, the employee had requested to go to part-time 32 hours a week instead of 40, which we asked you to build into the budget. However, that employee has resigned and taken a position. Well, I don't think she has, but anyway, she has resigned, and we are looking to add the 8 hours a week back to that position to make it full-time. We are taking money from other unfilled salary positions in there, so it is not an appropriation, it is just a transfer, and this position already was eligible for benefits, so there should be no change in that as well.
Any questions, council? For petitioner? Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing on 3219. Does anyone wish to address the council in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, the public hearing on 3219 is now closed. May I have a motion on the bill? Motion to pass bill number 3219 was made by Councilwoman Hess and seconded by Councilman Nolan. Any further comments in regards to 3219? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Katanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Morton?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Let the record show that bill number 3219 was passed by a vote of 8-0. Clerk, will you please read bill number 3119?
31? Okay, 3119 or 32?
31.
31, an ordinance amending ordinance 5318, the same being an ordinance establishing salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2019. Petitioner Infrastructure Planning and Growth.
Ms. Hess, committee report, please.
Mr. President, bill number 3119 comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Petitioner?
President? Just for reference, I think it's voter, we don't vote election board on this one versus infrastructure planning and growth. I think it's the election board there. The auditor said infrastructure planning and growth. Might be
Yeah.
mine.
We just voted on them.
Yeah. This is 3119 election board, I believe.
Correct.
It's
It's wrong there, David.
So which would you like me to read?
The
That's why I
election. The election
laughed.
thing.
Council Lewis.
Do you want me to do the one that says 3219?
No, the one that says 31,
I just
or
read
no,
it.
that says 3219 on it tonight's.
I can do that. I'd be happy to do that.
Much appreciated.
You're welcome. Improvise and adapt and overcome. Are you ready? Read something. All right. Read something about it. An ordinance, amending ordinance 5318, the same being an ordinance establishing the salaries and fixing the number of employees of St. Joseph County for the year 2019 petitioner election board.
Petitioner?
Right, it's my turn.
Fire away.
I was gonna say, is it my turn?
What do you,
Petitioner?
Lana Clary, St. Joe County Clerk's Office, with offices in the basement, 101 South Main Street. This is an ordinance to change the structure of pay for both the central count workers that work during the election time and the travel board that go out and vote the sick, they're known as, from a flat rate of $45 for the voting the sick and the $75 per day for the central count to a $9 an hour rate, because everybody doesn't work the same amount of hours. So to make it more fair and equitable, the election board is petitioning for it to go to an hourly rate.
Any questions from council for the petitioner? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing on 3119. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the bill? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing on 3119. Is there a motion? Motion to pass bill number 3119 is made by Councilman Nolan, it is seconded by Councilman Hess. Any further comments from council on this bill? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan? Yes. Mr. Tanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Next, we have public hearing and public comment on fiscal matters. All financial issues were heard and discussed at our March 26, 2019 committee meeting. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of any financial issue on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition of any financial issue on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, public comment is now closed. Clerk, will you please read bill number 3419?
An ordinance appropriating and transferring monies for the purposes herein specified for the seven departments being listed with the St. Joseph County government.
May I have a motion on bill 3419?
Motion for passage?
Second.
Motion to pass bill number 3419 was made by Councilman Tanzarite. It was seconded by Councilwoman Hess. Any further comments from any council member on 3419?
Just, this is my notes, section D or item D here.
Came without recommendation.
Recommendation.
Right.
Then we'll put the billion in.
Cheryl Rush, controller at the Juvenile Justice Center, 1000 South Michigan. We're requesting this appropriation of $73,401.65 for the cameras, as was explained. We'd like to give cameras to Rite of Passage. They bring a revenue stream of $120,000, and they've been requesting these for 4 years now. Their lease is up next year. We'd like to keep that revenue. We're building a new courtroom, so we need 2 cameras for that. And then we have some areas that are vulnerable in the JJC, so we've added a few of those. I talked to Scott Seneff. He's okay with this. We may need 1 switch, and he can buy that in-house at the cost of $1,000 to $2,000 for the switch.
Any questions for council? Thank you. Thank you. That's it. Motion is second on the floor. Any further comments from council? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Julian? Yes. Mr. Tanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kennerecki?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
And Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Record show that bill number 3419 was passed by a vote of 8-0. Clerk, will you please read the next bill, bill number 3319?
An ordinance amending and supplementing Title 11, Business Regulations, Chapter 117, St. Joseph County Food Establishments of the St. Joseph County Code, petitioner Health Department.
Mr. Kaczynski, committee report, please, sir.
Mr. President, this comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you very much. Petitioner?
Carolyn Smith, Food Service Director with the St. Joseph County Health Department, the 8th and 9th floor of this county city building. We are requesting an amendment to the definition of a food delivery vehicle, and the term will no longer include a vehicle that's used to deliver food that has been prepared, sealed, or packaged in a permitted food establishment when the food is intended for immediate consumption. We're further with the change of the definition, and there will no longer be a cost or a fee required for those delivery vehicles.
Any questions from council for the petitioner? Thank you. We're now open the public hearing on Bill 3319. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this bill? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the bill? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed on 3319. Do I hear a motion? Motion to pass bill number 3319 was made by Councilman Nolan. It was seconded by Councilman Krasinski. Any comments from any council member on 3319? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Tsoi? Yes. Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Kanaraki?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski? Yes. Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
This is, it passed 8-0.
Thank you. Let the record show that bill number 3319 was passed by a vote of 8-0. Next is unfinished business, which is bill number 1719. Clerk, could you please read that bill?
1719, resolution establishing the cumulative cap development fund.
We've already had a public hearing on this bill. Sarah, may I have a motion on bill number 1719?
Motion for passage.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion to pass bill number 1719 was made by Councilman Catanzarite. There was a second made by Councilman Nolan. Any further council discussion on bill 1719?
Good morning.
Mr. Catanzarite.
Just like to say my support for Bill 1719 goes a long way in terms of speaking to our long-range capital needs in our county. And I think that we have no shortage of capital needs going forward, up to and including things that were mentioned tonight in Mr. Castellani's presentation, such as elevators, infrastructure, our buildings, a lot of deferred maintenance. We were able to tackle a lot of the deferred maintenance with the energy savings program. There's still deferred maintenance on a lot of other projects and buildings that hasn't been addressed. Had the state law not changed like it did a few years back, when we had the established rate that always stayed at the rate you established and didn't sunset like it does now, I don't think that we would even be here tonight voting on it again, because I think that Q Capital Development Fund would have stayed at that rate and not had to have been addressed like it has to be addressed now. I know we've talked about this for a couple of years, and I think there's a demonstrated need for the capital investments. I just hope that if this passes tonight, and even if it doesn't pass, but going forward, I think the council needs to be very much included in the process, not just to get a list of this is what we're going to do with the money, but I think we need to be at the table in the decision-making process in terms of prioritizing like we've begun to do for the last couple of months, thanks to Corey, getting the moving target as we have every month and look at and review. I think prioritizing the capital needs of the county and making us a more active player with the commissioners in the decision-making process, I think is going to go a long way should this pass tonight.
Any other comments from council?
Mr. President?
Ms. Hess?
I would also agree with Councilman Catanzarite's comments. We have started a very vigorous process of reviewing and prioritizing of which there are many. And as Commissioner Castelli mentioned tonight, even with the slight increase that this would be, we would still have the lowest tax rates that we've had in several years here in the county. And there are significant needs, and this, it makes sense to have these capital development expenses come out of the capital development fund instead of the seeded fund or other funds that aren't necessarily appropriate. This fund is only supposed to be used for capital development within the county, and that's our infrastructure and those kinds of needs. And I firmly believe we need it, and we need to make this change. So I will be voting in favor.
Any other comments from council? Hearing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Tanzarite?
Yes.
Mr. Kenricky?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
No.
Mr. Krasinski?
No.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Ms. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Taloyan?
No.
And Mr. Moore?
Yes.
So pass 5-4, right?
5-3.
5-3, yeah.
Let the record show that bill number 1719 was passed by a vote of 5-3. Next is new business. Next is privilege of the floor, limited to 3 minutes on any item not on tonight's agenda.
Judith Robleski, 515 South Main Street, South Bend. I like getting a report about who's handling abatements, tax abatements for businesses, and that wasn't covered in the state of the county. And who's following up on?
You can get that now.
Thank you. So I'd like to know more about that and a report on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dan Caruso, 305 Compton Street, New Carlisle. I spoke at the Redevelopment Commission this morning, and my concerns this morning were addressed by County Commissioner Clark about the mess of Timothy Road in New Carlisle. And I thank you, Jessica, for taking care of that. Because I'm just waiting to get up one morning and hear about a school bus hitting that hole and kids being stuck in that swamp. But my concerns now are some of the information that came out in the State of the County address about how this wonderful fiber optic idea would be so great for New Carlisle and the citizens of New Carlisle, when every bit of information I've got is the only way I'm going to benefit from it as a citizen of New Carlisle is if I happen to go to the library, the school, or work at one of the businesses that come in there. I personally at my house will not be able to tap into this wonderful new thing. I have Wi-Fi at my house, so this is really going to be of no benefit to me. And they say there may be some day where it will be able to get into my house, but it would not be cost effective for me to keep it. The infrastructure, there's checking going in to see what the draw on the aquifer will be, what the additional traffic to the roads would be with any new growth coming in the IEC area out there. And I just say we can't take care of Timothy Road. Timothy Road has been this way for 3 years. I drive that every day. And the answer of the county is to put sandbags along the east side to hold back some of the water, except the road washes out, and then to put up signs saying, road may flood. I guarantee you that road's, because it's flooded right now. I just came across, how long's it been since it's rained? That road is flooded right now. We can't take care of the infrastructure we got yet. We're going to go and we're going to look at what this additional truck traffic is going to bring into our IEC area over there. I just think we need to slow down, and please take a look at these things before we start letting these people come in. Some transparency. Transparency was talked about in the State of the County address. There's no transparency in this issue. We're being told there's people that want to come in there. We're being told it's shovel-ready, but people who live there know it's shovel-ready if you want a lake because the water table's about 6 feet. So please, we need to slow this down and examine it completely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Caruso? Mr. Caruso?
Yes.
I just want to apologize to you for my phone going off.
Oh,
I'm
no
sorry
problem.
about that. But on the fiber, the fiber optic,
Correct.
I thought the commissioner said that it would benefit the residents of the
He
borough.
did say that. Don't know where he got that.
Okay. Sorry. New phone, I don't operate it.
We got all the youth literacy kids over here.
Yeah.
Good evening, Deborah Durrell, 21677 Otten Road, South Bend. This morning, the Redevelopment Commission just approved Resolution 219, or 2019-2, for TIF allocations for 2020, and I don't believe a single question or comment by the members or an opportunity for public inquiry occurred. My concern is, what does this mean now for the county council, the budget, and the public? The resolution states that notification of the auditor and the council must be made and that the council created this commission. My major concerns about this and the several taxes being raised now is based on an imbalance of county funds caused by these TIFs and tax abatement structures. Also, without specific breakdowns and prior estimates on specific needs, these funds are carved off and tend to benefit primarily one approach to fiscal practices and grant too much money and power to too few unelected individuals and results in depriving other entities and interests. I'm hoping that the TIFs and tax abatements will be used to maintain infrastructure and capital improvements for development, and an incentive for more judicious use of funds to be spread around, and modification of the tax abatements and TIF processes accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bob Humbarger. I live at 29987 Hurd Road in Olive Township. And I understand about needing funds for the cumulative fund that you voted on tonight. I know that just has to fix bridges, and we have to come up with the funds to make that. My complaint is that we have so much money encapsulated in TIF areas right now. If that money was available to the county, we wouldn't be in this situation. That's the past, and my concern is the future. What this redevelopment commission and the ultimately it's going to come towards you. The more money you put in TIF, the less money that goes to our new fire territory in Olive Township. Less money goes to the schools because of the property caps, and in the meantime the TIF area doesn't contribute to that. And so I'm trying to be understanding about this present situation with the cumulative capital improvement fund, but at the same time, I hope that you do not dig the hole any deeper in the future. They're asking for 22,000 acres. If you take 22,000 acres out of the property tax that goes to the schools, where are we going to get the money for the education? Thank you.
Thank you. There's no one else for privilege of the floor.
Next on the agenda is motion to adjourn. There a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.